The day the CEO gave my office to his son, I walked into the boardroom with a beating heart and a frozen face. The long glass table shone like a mirror under the cold white lights, and the city skyline burned in the windows behind him. I remember. His voice flat, confident like he was reading a weather report, not breaking my life in half. Starting Monday, Lucas will be moving into your office, he said. You'll transition into a supporting role while we realign leadership. My name is Ava. I was 25 years old, and inside that bright, perfect boardroom, I felt something in me die as the CEO slid a key card across the table to his. His son smiled. My best friend smiled. Everyone else just looked down at their laptops. The boardroom smelled like polished wood and expensive coffee, and the city lights slowly blinked on in the glass wall around us. I sat there, hands in my lap, back straight, eyes burning, my promotion, my office, my project. All of it handed to a man who had been here for 3 months, handed to the CEO's son, right in front of me, in a room of people who knew how hard I had worked, but said nothing. Across the table, my best friend Mia caught my eye. She tilted her head, just a tiny bit, and gave me that sweet, sad smile, the one that said, "I'm so sorry" on the surface, but something in her eyes said, "I won." I didn't know that yet. I didn't know she had already sold me out in that bright boardroom, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows and the fading orange light of sunset. I only knew one thing. If they were taking my office, they were not taking my dignity. So I reached into my bag, pulled out the envelope I had printed that morning. My hands trembled, but my voice did not. "Mr. Halle," I said, looking the CEO right in the eye. "You can give him my office." I slid the envelope toward him across the smooth glass table. "But you can't keep me." The room went silent. I could hear the ticking of the minimalist wall clock behind me. The city outside looked like a painting through the glass. "That," I said, "is my resignation." And as his fingers closed over the envelope, I told myself one thing in that cold, shining boardroom. This is not the end. You think you've won, but you have no idea what you've started. To explain how I got there, I have to start a year earlier, before the corner office. Before the promotion, before the betrayal, back when I still believed that hard work was enough, and that best friends did not hold knives behind their backs. It was my second month at Howley and Keene, the marketing firm everyone in my university dreamed about. The open plan office glowed with soft white lights, long rows of desks and glass walls that made everything look bigger and brighter than it really was. I still remember sitting at my small workstation by the window, a simple white desk, a black chair that squeaked when I leaned back, a little plant I bought with my first paycheck. Sitting by my keyboard. At 24, I had already become the youngest senior analyst on my floor. I stayed late. I came in early. I rewrote presentations until they were perfect. I believed that if I sacrificed enough, success would stay loyal to me. That was also where I met Mia. She dropped a stack of files next to my desk so hard that my pens rolled toward the edge. Her dark hair was tied in a messy bun. Her lipstick smudged at one corner, and her ID badge hung crooked on her blazer. She looked like a storm in a pencil skirt. "Sorry," she huffed, leaning over to catch the files. "First week, no idea what I'm doing. Can I just die under this desk?" Our open plan office buzzed with low conversations and keyboard clicks, and the late afternoon sun spilled across our desks like melted gold. I laughed. "Please don't. I need someone else here who doesn't pretend to have everything under control." She looked at me with big, tired eyes. "You're Ava, right? The one who killed it on the Horizon pitch deck?" I blinked. "How do you know that?" "Everyone knows," she said. "You're the new prodigy they whisper about in the kitchen." "I'm Maya, the new nobody." She smiled then, wide and bright and easy dot. It felt like sunlight dot from that day. We sat together at lunch in the busy office cafeteria. We shared cold coffee and warm secrets in quiet corners. Between meetings, we whispered our dreams over glowing screens in the dim. Almost empty office when everyone else had already gone home. Didn't know jealousy when I looked at her. I only saw a friend. One rainy evening, the office was almost empty. The sky outside the tall windows was a flat gray, and streams of water slid down the glass like clear curtains. I was alone at my desk, finishing a report, when Mia dropped into the chair next to me with 2 paper cups of coffee. "You need this," she said, pushing the hotter one into my hands. "You look like a dead intern." The open plan floor was half dark. Only a few overhead lights stayed on, leaving patches of shadow between the rows of desks. "I have to finish this by tomorrow," I muttered, eyes on my laptop. "If I don't, the Horizon campaign might go to Mark's team." Mia rolled her chair closer, her perfume soft and floral in the cool artificial light. "You know they can't do it without you. You're the only one who can make those numbers sound sexy." I snorted. "Please never say that again." She laughed. The sound echoed lightly between the empty cubicles. "I'm serious," she said. "You're going to run this place one day corner office, your name on the door. And when you do, please remember me when I'm still fighting with the printer on level 3. I smiled, warmed by her words. "I'll drag you up there with me," I said. "Promise." In that quiet, rainy office, I believed it. I believed she would rise with me. Not instead of me. The month I turned 25, everything changed. Some of it felt like a dream. Some of it felt like a warning I didn't hear. The CEO, Marcus Holloway, walked into the weekly staff meeting in the glass-walled conference room on our floor. He rarely came down from the top level, so everyone sat a little straighter. The walls reflected his tall figure, his silver hair, the navy suit that looked like it cost more than my monthly rent. I sat near the end of the table, my notebook open, my pen shaking slightly in my fingers. Mia sat next to me, leg bouncing under the table. "The Horizon campaign results are in," Mr. Howes said, voice steady. We all had high expectations. Very high. The conference room smelled like glass cleaner and coffee. The projector screen glowed blue behind him. He clicked the remote. Numbers flashed up. Engagement, conversion, retention. All higher than projections. Much higher. My numbers. My strategy. My late nights, my weekends, my skip dates with my fiance. Ethan. My safe place when I left work. The small 1-bedroom apartment we shared, with its worn gray couch and crooked picture frames in the living room. "In light of this," Mr. Hawley said, "we're promoting Ava Reed to campaign director for Horizon and moving her into a corner office on the 22nd floor. For a moment, the room blurred. Applause filled the glass space, bouncing off the walls. I felt Mia's hand squeeze mine under the table. Her smile was brilliant. Her nails dug into my skin just a little too hard. "You did it," she whispered in the bright conference room. "I told you, you're going to run this place." I laughed through the lump in my throat. I didn't see the shadow in her eyes as she clapped. I only saw my future, gleaming like the polished glass table under my fingertips. The corner office felt like stepping into another world. Floor-to-ceiling windows on 2 sides. A sleek black desk, small couch against the wall, a view that made the entire city look small and far away. On my first morning there, the sky was clear and sharp, and the sunlight poured into the room, turning the wood floor warm gold. I ran my fingers over the surface of my new desk, almost afraid to sit down. "This is insane," I murmured. "This cannot be real." Mia stood by the window, arms crossed, looking out over the skyline. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass. "You earned it," she said. Don't act like they handed this to you. They bled you dry for this? I shrugged. Still, I'm grateful. She turned and leaned back against the window, examining me. I would kill for this office, she said, half joking, half. Not kill. I laughed. I'll just be down the hall, I said. You can come here any time. We'll pretend it's ours. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Don't forget about me when the executives start inviting you to their fancy dinners. I stepped forward, hugging her in the sunlit office. I could never forget you. I meant it. I didn't know then that she was already wondering how to take. What I had dotted began slowly dot, so slowly that I didn't see it as a pattern. Just little things. Small cracks in the glass dot my days were long. Meetings, calls, strategy sessions in dim conference rooms. Late nights drafting proposals at my glowing desk while the city turned into flickering stars outside my windows dot sometimes. I would find Mia already on my couch when I came back from a meeting. She'd be flipping through one of my printed decks, eyes skimming every page. Hey, I'd say, dropping my laptop bag on the chair in my bright office. Make yourself at home. I'm just studying the Queen, she'd joke, waving a page. Your brain is unreal. I didn't hide anything. I left drafts on the desk. I spoke openly about my ideas. I shared the doubts I never told anyone else dot in that wide, sunlit office. I thought I was safe dot at lunch. In the crowded cafe across the street with its noisy espresso machines and people in suits standing in line, she'd sit across from me, chin in her hand. They're working you too hard, she'd say, stirring sugar into her coffee. You're doing the job of 3 people. It'll pay off. I'd answer, smiling faintly over my salad. I'm building something. She would not dot, but sometimes when I looked up too fast, I'd catch her looking at my hands dot at the ring on my finger from Ethan dotted the company badge on my blazer. Her gaze would be flat and dark for half a second. Before she blinked and smiled again, I ignored it. I called it stress. I called it my imagination. I called it anything except what it actually was. The first time I heard about Lucas, Holly was in a crowded elevator. The metallic walls reflected tired faces, suits, and glowing phone screens as we rode up together. 2 senior analysts stood behind me, whispering. He's back next month, one of them said. The golden boy, the other replied. Fresh from business school. You know, he'll land straight into a director chair. My stomach tightened. I stared at the changing numbers above the elevator door. People like us work for 10 years for a corner office, the first one murmured. He lands from the sky and gets one for breathing. The elevator chimed softly as it opened onto our floor, and the bright hallway with glass walls came into view. That evening, in my office with the blinds half drawn and the city darkening outside, I told Mia what I'd heard. She sat on my couch, one leg tucked under her, lit by the soft desk lamp and the fading gray light through the window. Mr. Hale's son? She asked out. I nodded. Lucas, they say he's joining us next month. Mia shrugged. Rich boy, she said. He'll probably mess around for a year and disappear. Ignore him. I smiled weakly. Easy for you to say. She looked at me then, eyes sharp. You're not replaceable, Ava, she said. No one can do what you do, not even a Holly. I believed her. I didn't know she would be the one helping him replace me. Lucas Holly walked into the office for the first time. It was like a scene from a movie. Everyone pretended not to stare, but they did dot. It was a bright Monday morning. The main lobby on our floor hummed with talk and footsteps, glass doors opening and closing as people swiped in. The smell of coffee and printer ink filled the air. I was at the reception talking to HR about a new analyst for my team when the elevator opened with a soft chime. He stepped out in a tailored suit, light brown hair styled in that messy, expensive way. A watch on his wrist that probably cost more than my car. He smiled at the receptionist, at HR, at anyone who looked his way. I felt his gaze land on me, quick, curious. "Good morning," he said, voice smooth. "I'm looking for the director of the Horizon account." "That's me," I replied, crossing my arms over my folder. "Ava Reed." He smiled wider, up close. He looked even more like he belonged in a magazine, charming, relaxed, too relaxed. "Course," he said. "My father talks about you." I wondered what exactly his father had said. I wondered if he'd mentioned how much of my life I had given to this company. "I'm Lucas," he said, extending a hand. "I guess we'll be working together." The open lobby light glowed on his watch, on the polished floor, on the glass walls around us. He looked like a prince in a glass castle. Later that day, in my office with the blinds open and a gentle afternoon, sun washing over my desk, Mr. Hawley called me. "Ava," he said, standing by my window as if it were his. "Lucas will be shadowing you for the next few months. Get him up to speed. Show him how things work here." My heart sank. "Shadowing me?" I asked. "On Horizon, yes," he replied simply. "You're our best. He needs to learn from the best." Lucas sat on my couch, elbows on his knees, looking around like a tourist. My office, my books, my whiteboard full of notes. I forced a smile. "Of course," I said. "Welcome to the team, Lucas." Mia came in later with 2 coffees, pausing in the doorway of my sunlit office when she saw him. Her eyes widened just a little. Then she smiled, bigger than I had ever seen. "So," she said, leaning on the doorframe as the city lay wide and distant. In the window behind her, "This must be the famous Lucas." He flashed that same easy smile. "And you are?" "Mia," she said, "Ava's friend. And the unlucky one who gets to suffer with her on late nights." They laughed together. Something cold twisted in my gut. I ignored it. The weeks after that were a blur of meetings and explanations, of me talking, and Lucas pretending to listen. In meeting rooms with large screens glowing blue. I walked him through past campaigns. In my office, I drew diagrams on the whiteboard while he checked his phone. In the break room with its humming fridges and coffee machines, I answered his questions while he tossed sugar packets in the trash like he was playing a game. "Look," he'd say, leaning back in his chair in my office, feet almost up on my desk. "I get the big picture, marketing, emotions, numbers. I did case studies on this in school." "This isn't school," I'd reply, fingers digging into a marker. "These clients have real money on the line. We don't deal with theories here," he'd grin. "And that's why I have you." Mia was around more often too, always somehow in my office when Lucas was there, always laughing at his jokes, always staying after he left, closing the door behind him, to roll her eyes. "He's so arrogant," she'd say, dropping onto my couch in the warm afternoon light. "Can you believe him?" "I noticed," I'd reply, sipping my cold coffee. "I don't trust him," she'd add, eyes focused on the door. "Be careful, okay?" I thought she was on my side. I thought her warnings were for me. I didn't realize they were for herself. First time something went missing. It was a file, not just any file. A draft of a bold new direction for Horizon. When I had poured my heart into it was late. The office was mostly dark, silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning and the distant ding of an elevator. I sat in my corner office, lit only by my desk lamp and the glow of my laptop screen. Outside my window, the city was a sea of scattered lights. I saved the draft to the shared drive. I printed a copy. I put the printed version in a folder and left it in the middle of my desk. The next morning, I came in early, the sky outside pale and soft, the office still empty. The folder was gone. I checked my drawers. The couch. The table by the window. Nothing. I Check the trash can. Empty. I swallowed. Hard. When Mia walked in half an hour later. Carrying a steaming cup of coffee in the dim, quiet office, she found me standing behind my desk, hands on the edge, staring at the empty space where the folder should have been. "You look like you saw a ghost," she said. "My draft." I sighed. "The New Horizon direction. I left it here last night." She frowned. "Maybe cleaning took it by accident? Why would they take a blue folder and nothing else?" I asked. She paused. Then her eyes flicked to the door. "Did Lucas come in this morning?" She asked casually. "I don't know," I replied, feeling suddenly cold in the brightening office. "He has access. Everyone on the team does." She stepped beside me, resting a hand on my arm. "Don't spiral, Ava. Just ask him." I did. Later that morning, in a smaller meeting room with glass walls and a simple white table, I asked Lucas if he'd seen it. He looked genuinely confused, or he was very good at acting. "No," he said, brows raised. "Why would I take your draft? You said you'd send me the final version later this week." He held my gaze through the glass as people walked by outside. I nodded slowly. "Right, it's probably nothing." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe everyone was as honest as I tried to be. Mia squeezed my shoulder on our way back to the open workspace, the bright overhead lights making the white desks look sharp and hard. "You really need to lock your office." She murmured. I agreed, but I didn't. The missing folder could have been a mistake. Small thing. An accident. But mistakes began to pile up. Numbers in my reports were suddenly wrong. Just by a little, enough to make me look careless. A slide would be missing from a deck I had checked 3 times. An email, I was sure, I had sent would not be in my outbox. Clients would not receive files I knew I'd attached. At first, I blamed myself. Too busy. Too tired. Too many late nights in my office. With the city lights blurring through the glass and my eyes burning. "You need to slow down," Ethan told me one evening at home. In our small living room with its soft yellow lamp and threadbare gray couch, he sat opposite me, hands wrapped around a mug of tea. His hair was messy from the day, his tie loosened, his face lined with concern. "I can't," I said, laptop balanced on my knees, spreadsheet glowing in front of me. "Horizon is too big. The firm is watching. If I mess this up..." "You won't," he said firmly. "You're killing yourself over this." I stared at the screen where a simple error glared back at me in red. An error I could have sworn wasn't there yesterday. What if I already am? I whispered in our dim living room with the TV turned off and the sound of distant traffic coming through the thin window. He moved to sit beside me, taking the laptop from my hands and closing it. "Then you take a break," he said. "Or you walk away." I laughed bitterly. "Walk away? From everything I've built?" He was silent because he knew walking away from work would feel like walking away from myself. In those quiet, tired nights, I thought my biggest enemy was burnout. I didn't see the hand quietly moving pieces against me. The first real crack came in a weekly leadership meeting. We sat around a long oval table in a bright glass conference room, charts and graphs projected on the wall. As I walked through the performance metrics, Mr. Howe's expression hardened. "Ava," he interrupted, "these engagement numbers, they don't match the data I received yesterday." Cold washed over me. "I double-checked those this morning," I said. "They're accurate." He tapped a finger on the table, the sound sharp in the quiet room. "The file Lucas sent me yesterday shows different numbers," he said. I turned to look at Lucas, who sat 2 seats away in the sunlit room, hands folded, face calm. "I updated them based on the latest pull," he said. "Maybe Ava used an older data set. Easy mistake." My chest tightened. "That's not what happened," I said. "I pulled the numbers at 6 this morning. Let's not argue over Details, Mr. Hawley cut in. Just make sure you and Lucas are aligned. We can't afford sloppy work on Horizon. The word sloppy, burned dotted, echoed in my skull as the meeting continued, my slides blurring, my voice mechanical. When it ended, people filed out of the glass room, their reflections distorted in the paneled walls. Mia touched my elbow as she passed, her face soft with concern. Outside, in the wide hall, lined with framed campaign posters, I grabbed Lucas's arm. Why did you say that? I demanded, keeping my voice low. He blinked. Say what? That I used an older data set, I hissed. You know I didn't. He shrugged, glancing toward the glass doors where people walked by. Relax, Ava. It's not about you. It's about the team. I updated the file. I sent it first. That's all. That's not all, I said. You made me look incompetent. He met my eyes then, his friendly mask slipping just enough for me to see the arrogance underneath. Maybe. You're taking this too personally, he said, turning away. We're all on the same side. As he walked down the bright hallway, his reflection trailing him in the glass, I realized something. We were not on the same side, and I was the only one who hadn't understood that yet, that evening. In my office lit by the orange light of sunset, I told Mia what had happened. She sat on the couch, legs drawn up, arms wrapped around her knees. The city glowed behind her through the window like a field of stars. He's making you look bad, she said, on purpose. I know, I whispered, but why? I was told to mentor him. I've been sharing everything. He's on my emails, my decks, my calls. I trailed off, pressing my fingers to my temples. Mia watched me. Her expression was gentle. Almost too gentle. Maybe he feels threatened, she said. You're young. You're already a director. You have the office, the big client. If he wants to look good to his father, he doesn't have to destroy me to do that, I said, voice cracking in the warm, dim room. Men like that don't think in halves, she murmured. They want everything. I laughed once, humorless. I just wish someone would see it, I said. No one questions him. He's the sun. He's untouchable. Mia tilted her head. Everyone breaks, she said softly. Even the untouchable ones. I stared at her. The way the sunset carved shadows along her jaw, the way her eyes didn't quite match her comforting words. What are you saying? I asked. She smiled, small and sad. Just that if he's playing games, she said, karma will play back. I thought she meant as karma. I didn't know she was also building her own. The betrayal started with trust. It always does. One Friday night. The office was almost empty. Most people had already left for the weekend. Their screens dark, their chairs pushed in. My office was lit only by the soft glow of my desk lamp and the last gray light of dusk filtering through the windows. I was working on a confidential deck for a massive potential client. Bigger than Horizon. The kind of account that could change a career. I locked the door. I saved the file to a private folder. I printed nothing. At 9. My eyes blurred. My head robbed. My phone buzzed. It was Mia. Still alive up there? Her text read. Barely, I replied, glancing around my shadowy office. Huge pitch. Need to finish by Monday. Come home, she wrote back. You're useless when you're this tired. I'll bring you food tomorrow and we'll work on it together. Girls' weekend with slides. I smiled despite myself. I trusted her. So I packed my laptop into my bag. I turned off the lamp. I left the office in darkness. The city reflected faintly in the black windows. The next day, we sat at my small kitchen table in my apartment. Laptops open, coffee cups scattered between us. The afternoon light came in through the blinds, striping the walls with soft white lines. Mia read through my slides, nodding slowly. This is brilliant, she said. If you land this client, they'll have to put your name next to Hale's on the wall. I laughed, brushing hair from my face. Can you imagine? She smirked. Oh, I can, she said quietly. By evening, we were done. She left with a hug. In the narrow hallway outside my apartment door, the overhead bulb flickering slightly. You're unstoppable, she whispered. I believed her. I believed every word she said. The following week, Mr. Hale called me into the executive boardroom. The big one. Top floor. The room, the long table that looked like it was hewn from a single piece of dark wood, and windows that showed the whole city like a map. When I walked in, the room was full. Senior partners, finance leads. Legal. All sitting straight in their chairs. Screens open, faces serious. My heart pounded. This was it. The big pitch, the moment. I sat near the middle. Directly across from Mr. Howell. The screen on the wall glowed with the client's logo. Thank you all for coming, Mr. Howell said. As you know, this pitch could change the outlook of our firm. We asked our top people to prepare proposals. Today, we'll review the leading approach. I frowned. Leading? I whispered to myself. I thought. The door opened. Lucas walked in, laptop in hand. Confident. Mia slipped in behind him and took a seat near the far end of the room. She did not look at me. Mr. Howell nodded at his son. Lucas, he said. You're up. My blood ran cold. I watched as Lucas connected his laptop to the projector. The screen came to life, and I watched my work appear. My phrasing. My unique, careful flow. The strategy Mia and I had refined in my kitchen. At my small table with coffee stains and laughter and my guard down. Slide by slide, he walked them through my mind. Through ideas I have never shown anyone else, not even the rest of my team. I felt the air grow thin in the bright room. The edges of my vision darkened. That's my deck, I whispered, fingers digging into the arms of my chair. The woman from finance next to me glanced at me, confused. Did you collaborate? She whispered. My voice stuck in my throat. I looked at Mia at the far end of the table. She was very still. Her eyes were on the screen. Her face was calm. Too calm. When Lucas finished, the room erupted into low, impressed murmurs. This is brilliant, one partner said. Bold, another agreed. Risky, but if we pull it off. Mr. Hollis smiled, pride shining in his eyes. Excellent work, Lucas, he said. This is the kind of leadership we need. My fingers trembled. That's my work, I said louder. Those are my ideas. The room quieted. Heads turned. Lucas looked at me, then at his father. He smiled. A different smile, cooler. Ava, he said. We talked through some of this last week. I added my own spin, of course, but we never had that meeting. I snapped, my voice shaking the glass in my own ears. I worked on this deck alone, at home, on my personal laptop. Mr. Hale's face darkened. Ava, he said, tone warning. Careful. I stared at Mia. She finally met my eyes. Her expression was unreadable, but it was not surprise. It was not horror. It was not solidarity. It was something colder, something that made my stomach twist. Tell them, I whispered across the long table. You were with me. You saw me build this. The room waited. The city glowed behind the glass. Silent and indifferent, Mia opened her mouth, closed it. Then she looked at Mr. Hall, not at me. I did see Ava working on concepts, she said slowly. But Lucas discussed something similar. With me too, we all brainstormed in a way. Maybe ideas just overlapped. My heart stopped. I stared at her in the bright, expensive boardroom, feeling like the floor had opened underneath me. Is that true? Mr. Halley asked her. She nodded, eyes dropping. I don't want to be in the middle, she said faintly. Lucas watched me. His victory was quiet. Smug. My cheeks burned. My throat closed. In any case, Mr. Hall, I said, looking around. This is a team effort. The firm owns the work. What matters is that Lucas stepped up to present and refined the vision. Going forward, he'll lead the pitch discussions. He turned to me. Ava, he said, you can support. Support the man who stole my work. Support the friend who just threw my truth under a bus. I felt the boardroom spinning, the city tilting behind the glass. Meeting adjourned. Mr. Hawley said. Chairs scraped. People left in small groups, whispering. I sat frozen. Later, in the ladies' restroom, I broke. There is no elegant way to say it. The space was bright and white, with long mirrors above sleek sinks and a faint smell of soap and disinfectant. I stumbled into a stall, locked the door, and slid down the cold wall until I was sitting on the tiled floor, my hands covering my mouth. My body shook. Silent. Ugly sobs tore through my chest. My work. My trust. My best friend. Replayed her words in the boardroom. I don't want to be in the middle. Coward. Liar. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead. A faucet dripped somewhere outside. I don't know how long I stayed there. Long enough for my legs to go numb. Long enough for my tears to dry on my skin and leave it tight and aching. Eventually. The door opened. Footsteps. Heels on tile. Ava. Mia's voice. Soft. Cautious. I held my breath. She walked closer. Stopped outside my stall. I know you're in there, she said. I stared at the door. I could see the shadows of her shoes beneath it. Go away. I whispered. She sighed. I'm sorry, she said. 2 words. Thin as paper, lighter than dust. A joke. I stood slowly, leaning on the side of the stall. I opened the door. She looked at me. My makeup smeared. My eyes red and swollen. Her face crumpled into a tiny, practiced kind of pain. Panicked, she said in the bright, echoing restroom. I didn't want to get in trouble. You know how it is with the Hales. You can't go against them. I thought maybe you two had shared more than you remembered. Don't gaslight me, I whispered. You know what you saw. Her jaw tightened just slightly. I'm on your side, she said. I always have been. But you're going up against the CEO's son. Think about your future. Don't die on this hill. I already started dying, I said, the moment you chose him. Her eyes flashed. Then she softened her expression. Again, like she was putting on a different mask. You're overreacting, she said quietly. You're tired. You're hurt. Let's talk later. She turned to leave. Something inside me snapped. How did he get my slides, Mia? I asked, voice sharp and loud in the white room. They were on my personal laptop, at my home on Saturday. She froze. The silence was heavy. The reflection of our bodies in the long mirror looked warped and strange. She turned back slowly. Maybe you uploaded them, she said hoarsely. You work on so many versions. Maybe you forgot. I stared at her, remembering her at my kitchen table, her fingers on my touchpad, her USB drive on the table, her accidentally saving things. You gave them to him, I said. My voice was flat now, dead. Did he pay you? Promise you a promotion? What was the price of my trust, Mia? Her lips trembled. She said nothing. She didn't have to. I saw the truth in her eyes, and that truth cut deeper than anything Lucas or his father had done to me. After that day, something in me changed. I still went to work. I still sat in my bright office. I still attended meetings in glass rooms where my reflection watched me back, but I was no longer innocent. The world had edges now, sharp ones. I began to see patterns I had missed before, the missing folder, the mistakes in my reports, the way Lucas always seemed one step ahead of me. The way Mia was always nearby. Always close to the center of every little disaster. I stopped leaving papers on my desk. I locked my office door. I changed my passwords. I kept my laptop with me at all times. I watched I listened. I realized that while I had been breaking myself to climb, she had been studying me, studying my weaknesses, my heart, my need to be liked, my blind faith, and she had fed those things into Lucas, into the hungry, privileged machine that would turn me into a stepping stone. They deserved each other, but I was still trapped in their game. The real blow came a month later. By then, Lucas had wormed his way into more and more of my responsibilities. He was now co-leading Horizon. He was presenting more often. He was the shiny new face clients saw. While I became the shadow who fixed everything after, the office had changed toward me, too. Sideways glances in the open workspace under the white lights, whispers in the hallways lined with framed successes, a subtle shift of respect, a quiet question mark above my name. Then came the email. Company-wide announcement, leadership restructuring. We all received it on a Tuesday morning. The sky outside was cloudy, gray. Pressing against the windows of my bright office, mandatory town hall. At 4 p.m., the message said, executive updates will be shared. I felt a chill. I looked across the floor through the glass. I saw Maya at her desk, typing something, glancing toward Lucas in his temporary office down the hall. They knew. I could see it in the set of their shoulders, the way they moved. I was the only one left in the dark. At 4 p.m. We all gathered in the main event space on the 20th floor. It was a large, open room with high ceilings, a small stage at one end, and rows of folding chairs facing a big screen. The windows along one wall showed the city. Under a thick blanket of clouds. The atmosphere was heavy. I sat near the center. Mia sat 2 rows behind me. I could feel her eyes on the back of my neck. Like a touch. Mr. Hawley stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand, his image mirrored on the screen behind him. Thank you for coming, he began. As we move into the next phase of growth, we have decided to restructure leadership to better align with our strategic goals. My hands were cold. He talked about efficiency, about vision, about fresh energy. Then he said the words that hollowed me out. As of next month, he announced, Lucas Hawley will be taking over as executive director for key accounts, including Horizon. The room buzzed. People glanced at each other. My ears rang. Ava Reed, he continued, will transition into a newly created role, reporting to Lucas to support and execute his strategic direction. Support. Again. Always support. I stared straight ahead at the CEO on the small stage, framed by the gray sky outside and the harsh white lights above. Then he looked down at me. Directly. Double quotes, and he added almost casually to reflect these changes. We'll be reallocating some office space. Lucas will move into the corner office on the 22nd floor. Ava HR will work with you to find a suitable workspace in the open plan area. There it was. My office. My window. My symbol of years of sacrifice given away in one sentence. A few people glanced at me, pity in their eyes. Others looked quickly away, behind me. I heard a soft exhale, a sound like a satisfied sigh. Mia. The rest of the announcement blurred. Words like congratulations and growth and future floated past me like meaningless noise. When it was over, people stood, they clapped, they drifted toward the exits in small clusters, their voices low and careful. I stayed seated. I stared at the floor. My chest felt like it was caving in. My vision threatened to blur again. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder. I looked up. Mia stood there, framed by the rows of chairs and the big screen behind her that now displayed the company logo in bright, empty colors. I'm so sorry, she said. Her eyes glistened. I had no idea they would do that to you. I searched her face. Lies. So beautiful. So easy. You did, I said quietly. You always know everything before I do. She swallowed. Ava, was it worth it? I asked, voice low but steady in the wide event room. Trading me for proximity to them, to him? People were still leaving, but a few nearby slowed. Their steps. Her jaw clenched, her mask slipped for a fraction of a second. You're being dramatic, she hissed softly. This is how business works. Maybe if you learn to play the game. I thought we were on the same team, I interrupted. We are, she insisted. I tried to advocate for you. They want Lucas. You can't fight blood. I could have if my best friend hadn't handed him my knife, I said. She looked stung, angry. I'm not your enemy, she said. But if you keep acting like this, you'll become your own. She walked away, heels clicking on the polished floor. Her silhouette moved against the tall windows, the gray city behind her. I sat there alone in the too bright event hall, the rows of empty chairs like silent witnesses, and in that silence, I made a choice. I was done begging for space in a house they could take away from me in a second. If they wanted my office, they could have it. They would also have to live with what I left behind. That night, I went home to our small, warm apartment and told Ethan everything. We sat at the kitchen table under the dim pendant light, the cheap wooden surface scratched and scarred from years of use. He listened without interrupting as I talked about the stolen slides, the boardroom, the support role, the office being handed away like a piece of furniture. When I finished, my throat was raw. He had not touched his food. Slowly, he reached across the table and took my hand. You have to leave, he said. I stared at him. Leave? Now, without a plan? You've given them everything, he replied. Your health, your time, your soul. And they've shown you exactly what they think of you? His grip was firm. Walk away before they crush what's left. I looked at our sink full of dishes. At the small window over it, showing a dark piece of sky and the orange glow of the street lamp outside. At the life we had built.